it's me again. Hello, it's Nougatbar, and I usually post knitting related content on my channel, and I am trying to have a little bit more of English content, and I hope you will like my videos. Most of the time my videos are in Korean, but I am trying to have English content as well on the channel. So yeah, so I hope you enjoy. If you do like the video and my channel, feel free to like the video, subscribe as well, and also I did recently put up a Ko-fi, so if you do like my content and would like to support my channel, feel free to check out my Ko-fi. It does make a big difference, so thank you. So let's go into the content, shall we? So this is the Télégramme cardigan by Becky Sorenson that I've showed you in the previous video. If you haven't seen it, feel free to check it out. I would put I'll put a link in the, I don't know, in the corner. So yeah, so today it's a different one. So ta-da! This is one of my recent makes that I am in love with. I'm completely stuck to the wall because this is quite a large project. It's just a little bit longer than my wingspan. So this is the Pressed Flowers Shawl by Amy Christoffers. Savory Knitting is her Instagram handle, and I am in love with this one. It is quite a large sized shawl, a triangular shawl. So you start from here, and it's you make a triangular shape, and you have regular increases, and that makes the shawl grow. What was that explanation? But yeah, basically you start with a triangular shape and you increase like every other row, I think, and it just keeps on growing and growing and growing. So this is how it looks like. I really like it with my Télégramme cardigan. It's like brown vibes. It's so pretty together. Yeah, so I've knit this shawl in a 4.5mm needle. I do think it's the required needles are maybe a little bit smaller, but I just adjusted the needle size to the yarn I used. And I think that for sure, like, you should always try to adapt the needle size according to the yarn and maybe not the pattern. But because your yarn is different from the suggested yarn, and if you just try to stick to the recommended needle size recommended in the pattern, sometimes the fabric doesn't turn out quite right. So sometimes it can be too stiff or maybe too loose. I am saying this because I have done that. I have like knitted the needle. I have knitted projects trying to stick with the recommended needle size because I didn't want to like have a fluff with, I didn't want to fuss with the gauge, and I was like, I'm knitting in the fingering weight yarn. The suggested yarn is also fingering weight, so I guess it will be fine. And I just knitted with the recommended needle size, and even when I was knitting, I felt like the fabric's a little bit too stiff, but I just kept going with it. But obviously when I finished the project, I wasn't as pleased with it because the fabric was too stiff. So what I do recommend is always try to match the needle size according to the yarn you have, and check if you do like the fabric. So I don't really swatch a lot, but since I did change the needle size for this project, I just wanted to be sure that the needle size I went for did match the yarn. So I actually did give a go at swatching. So this swatch wasn't really to check the gauge, like the number of stitches per 10 centimeters. That wasn't important to me because it was going to be a shawl. The measurements really didn't matter, but I just wanted to check the fabric, how it was turning out. I just wanted to check if it was if it wasn't too stiff or too holey, but I figured that it was just the right amount of drape it was given, so I stuck with that. So this is knit in a 4.5mm, and the yarn I've used it isn't a big brand yarn, so that's one of the reasons I didn't start an English knitting podcast, is because a lot of the yarn I use, like it's the same for the Télégramme cardigan. They aren't like yarns that you can buy elsewhere, I guess, than in Korea, and even in Korea they're not like steady supply yarns by knitting yarn company brands. They're most of like, I don't know how to call these, but they are normally made for manufacturers. So just to say that these aren't yarns that come in balls, so they're not readily available. But I just wanted to show you which yarns I've used. So the yarn I used, the burgundy, the maroon colour I've used is this one. So it's a tweed, it has some tweed. I don't, like, the lighting really doesn't do it justice. You can see it better in the knitted form, but it is a tweed yarn, so you have like little nips here and there of like more orangey, can you see them here? More orangey flecks, I don't know. And then I used this beige yarn, and this one I held double. So this is like it's like a light fingering. I held it double, so it's more like a DK sport weight. And this was like 3 strands together from the get-go, and it's like I find like it's a DK sport weight yarn. So I used those 2 yarns to knit the pattern. So the burgundy was the main colour. I think the main colour is the burgundy, and then the contrasting colour are the ones for the flowers. So I wanted to go for a very high contrast and have a darker shade for the background, and something beigey, ivory-ish for the flowers. I had seen a photo on Instagram, so I had come across this pattern because I'd seen pictures on Instagram, and I was like, I have to knit this. And at that point I hadn't even finished the Télégramme cardigan, or maybe I just finished the Télégramme cardigan, but I did already have a lot of stuff on my needles. But you might not know, but you will get to know in the future, but I have a million projects going on at the same time. I am no monogamous knitter, but I really wanted to knit this, and I had to start it. So I think I started this, I bought the pattern like at 3 a.m. in the morning. That's what everybody does, isn't it? And then thank you Ravelry and thank you PayPal for the fast checkout process. But I really started this like on a whim, and I was actually super busy at the time, but I think I cast this on a bus to work. But this was so pretty, so I really had to start it. And so I was saying, I had stumbled across a photo on Instagram. This person, I don't know who it is, but this person had used I think like a black yarn for the main colour, and white speckled yarn for the contrasting colour, and I really liked that pairing. Maybe it was a beige yarn, but I really like that pairing, so I was really tempted to buy some sort of black yarn to make this shawl. But I found this yarn sitting in my stash, and I really had, I have so much yarn in my stash that I really need to work. I can't continuously keep buying yarn, so I do try to talk myself out of buying yarn sometimes if I can find something in my stash that does suit the project. So I made the choice, and I cannot be more pleased. I think I would have preferred this over a black main colour. I just love this pairing. It's so pretty, and I think I would wear it on everything. I just love this project so much. Can you, like, I don't know if you can feel it, but I just love it. And one of the modifications you can notice, so there's two major modifications I think I've made on this project. So the first one is in the original pattern. So this is the first chart, I guess, is the first chart repeat, and then there's a second chart repeat. But I omitted that because I didn't really like how it looked like. So basically the second chart repeat is the flowers are more closely stuck together. So you would have this flower motif, and then you would have a last section with these flower motifs, but they are more closely intertwined, and I didn't really like the look, so I just omitted that. So I just continued to do the increases as the first chart pattern until I liked the length. So I think I did 14 increases, so let's check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. So I did 14 repeats. At first I was going to do 15, but by the end of this shawl, I was really tempted to end at the 13th motif, but I was like, no, I will just do one more. Like, I can't do 15, but I can do 14, and I pushed myself to do another repeat, and I'm really happy that I did, because this shawl is meant to be squishy and super big, and so I think it would have made a difference, because it is like if you just think that it's this length, it doesn't look that big, but if you do take in count that there's the other side, it's like double this length actually, that it makes like this much of a difference. So I think that it is quite a big difference, but I'm really happy that I did 14 repeats. And yeah, so I did 14 repeats, and then I didn't check the original bind off, but I think that it's just, you just do a regular, maybe a garter stitch bind off or something like that. But I wanted to do something different, and when I started, when I swatched here, you can see that, oopsies. So when I initially made the swatch, I was going to do an I-cord binding, so you can see here. I was going to do an I-cord binding, and actually it's super neat, so I was really torn until the end if I should do this I-cord binding or not. But I asked on my podcast because I was so indecisive if I should do this like edging or the I-cord binding, and most of the people said that this one was prettier, and I also thought that this was prettier, but I was just so indecisive, and I think that both are so pretty, and I just needed someone to make the choice for me. But this one, and I'm super happy that it did win, but I would have been happy with the I-cord binding as well. I just find it super pretty. Maybe I just need another pressed flower shawl in my life. But basically what I did is I just took the pattern we were doing in the body, and I just flipped the colours around. So I used the beige as the main colour, and not the burgundy, what did I call this? This maroon colour as the contrasting. So we would have a contrast version of the main body, and this would give like an accent to the edging. And that's what I did, and then I bound off like just a regular bind off. With no like a super stretchy bind off. I just did a regular bind off on the wrong side. I did it on the wrong side, you can see. I did it on the wrong side, so it does give like a garter edge sort of finish, and I am so chuffed with it. So it did look a little wonky when I did initially finish it, but when I washed it, I did try to make, I don't do any fancy blocking or anything. I just wash it and just try to lay it down. And what I did just try to pay attention is on this edge, I just try to make it neat, so when I wear it, it would just fall straight. So I think it's pretty good. Don't you think so? Because when I finished it, it was so kind of wonky, and maybe it would like go on one side or something. But when I was washing it, I just try to pay attention and make these lines look straight, and there was no problem with it. It blocked super well, and yeah, it's so pretty. Don't you think that this edging is so nice? It just gives a super nice like accent to it, and the body itself is already super pretty, I think. And like at first I was on the fence because I was like, maybe it's too much because I already have so much going on. But I do find like since there's so much of the main color going on, I do find it super neat to have this contrast color finish it all and tie everything together. Maybe if I had just finished it in the pattern, like not the I-cord binding, but just in the pattern, it might have been like a little bit blunt. No, it would have been beautiful. But yeah, you get what I mean. I just wanted to have a little bit more exciting stuff happening, and I really like the finished object basically. So the pattern itself is like mosaic knitting. So there, it might look like color work, but there's no color work. So you're not working two colors at the same time. You are working on one color. Like, I should say that they are sets of 2 rows. So for example, you would work 2 rows on the main color, and then two rows on the contrasting color, and then 2 rows on the main color. So basically, it's kind of like your work, in order to knit 1 row, you feel like you have to knit 4 rows, but it isn't true, because basically you are knitting 4 rows. But just do not listen to what I say seriously. But yeah, basically this is just like mosaic knitting, and it's just so beautiful. I haven't like realized how mosaic knitting could be like so pretty, but just this pattern is just like so neat. But and by the end of like when I was like, shawls, they grow super quickly. So when I think like until this point, like it grows super fast, and then like just knitting 1 repeat just takes ages, and by the end of like by the 14th repeat, you're like, it's taking me a full day to make like half a repeat. Like, of course I wasn't knitting 24 hours, but like in one sitting you can't even finish like a repeat. You would finish 2 rows. But and I had gotten like overconfident about the pattern, so I have a tendency to memorize patterns very quickly, especially when they're quite intuitive. I know like what pattern I have to have under my eyes, so sometimes I get a little bit overconfident, and I had messed up a lot of the times, but I really couldn't bother to unravel when I was like at this point. So most of the time I would always unravel and knit and re-knit, because I don't like having mess ups. But for this shawl, I just couldn't imagine unraveling it, because there were so many stitches on the needle, and I would never do this to a garment. But I'd just cut the yarn, or like if I had if I'd fucked something up, and even if I try to correct it and like the stitches won't match, I don't know if it makes sense, but sometimes you just, for example, you just do a repeat and you're on the wrong stitch, so it would just shift to the left. So what you'll have to do is just rip back and shift it to the right, so there'll be the same number of stitches, so there's no big difference. But for example, if like I wasn't supposed to knit all the stitches, but for this section I had knit like a big row, it means that I would have excess yarn in the back, hanging in the back. So for me that is not acceptable, and I would have to rip back. But I had too much stitches to rip. Like once I was past that, I don't know how many to repeat, there was just so much stitches to rip back, I could not rip back. And what I just did is I tried to fix it, and if there was any excess yarn, I would just cut the yarn in the back and tie a knot. That I would never do in a garment. I never put knots in a garment, but I figured that this is a shawl. There's pretty much no risk of it getting unraveled because both of the yarn are like majorly wool based yarns, so already I washed it and they're pretty much stick together. So I just tied it together and wove in the ends, and I can't really find where I fucked up, so I guess it means that nobody's gonna notice it. So yeah, so the backside is super neat as well. As I have said, it's mosaic knitting, so you like, even if you have no experience in colourwork, since it's not colourwork, it looks super sophisticated and super complicated, but actually it's not that complicated. So it's basically a mix of slip stitches and garter stitches. So I really recommend this pattern, and I think the pattern is so neat. It would be so nice like in a pullover as well, maybe it's too much, but like it would be super pretty, maybe in like a vest, but a vest? Like a vest? No. I think it's a vest, like those sleeveless vests. Do you call that a vest? I am not sure of myself, but yeah, I think it would be really pretty in something else as well. So it's very big, and it's a DK weight shawl, but also it has like 2 layers to it because it is mosaic knitting. So it does have, like, it's not heavy, but it's very squishy. And that was the intention I had knitting it, so I'm really pleased with this fabric, and that's what I was going for. So it's really, really warm. Like, even when I was knitting on it, I just like put it on my lap and used it like a blanket. So I can use it as a shawl, like this. Like, what I would do is I would wear it like this. So I'd go around once and like this, or otherwise you can just do a knot in the back, pom pom, like something like a knot in the back like this, or otherwise so I could wear it out like that, and then if I get cold I could use it as a blanket because it's a blanket size. And then how else you could wear it is like just on your shoulders. Oh, it's super pretty. You could just wear it on your shoulders like this, and it's super warm. It will just keep you super warm. It is so pretty. Sorry, I am just drilling it over my own finished object. But if you haven't knitted this pattern, I really recommend it. And seriously, everybody should have a pressed flower shawl in their life. It's just pretty. I think I haven't been this satisfied with a finished object in quite a while. I just really like how this turned out, and yeah, just so pretty. Designers are just so intelligent. I do not know how they come up with these super designs, but this was my pressed flower shawl. You should definitely knit it if you haven't understood. But voila. So this was one of my recent makes. I hope you liked this video. Basically, it was me gushing about the pressed flower shawl for 10+ minutes. If you haven't understood, you should really knit this one, and I'm definitely going to knit this again in the future because I just like the finished object so much, and the knitting process was also really, really satisfying actually. And for me it was quite a quick knit, so I did start it in late October and finished it in mid-January. I was going to say July then, mid-January. So like October, November, December, January, so around 3 month-ish, maybe a little bit less than 3 month-ish. But I do have like a zillion projects on my needles, and this is quite a big shawl. So I think it's an appropriate amount of time I took. Like, it's quite a fast knit for me. I am really slow. You might understand it in my other videos, but yeah, I think that this can be a really quick knit, and the finished object is amazing, and the pattern is also amazing, so I recommend it to you as well. So I hope you like this video, I hope you like this pattern, I hope you like this shawl. And if you do want to follow my knitting adventure, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I am trying to have more regular English content for the non-Korean speaking viewers, so I hope you understand that everything can't be in English, but I am trying, and I hope you still like what I'm doing. So see you next time. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful knitting time. Bye bye.